Hello, folks. Um, I was listening to Don Parnell's last sermon there, and a few things that stuck out at me was one was at the beginning of his sermon. He got on there and he said, people don't. He said, you need to say who you are because people don't even know who you are. So he said, so he'd get on there and say, hello, I'm Don Parnell. So it's like, yes, people don't know who Don Parnell is. I'd say even less so, they would certainly not know who I am. So I guess I ought to do the same. I ought to introduce myself. And anyway, hello. My name is Wesley Cook. I am I guess you could say, third coming affiliate of sorts. I'm from West Virginia in the United States, and let's see, I used to preach in Don Parnell's church back in the day, and I've been around different places, preached in Indiana, and used to preach in West Virginia church, Charleston, West Virginia church, and Third Coming Affiliate Church. I've been to Kentucky, and I preached down there, and I've been to New Mexico one time and preached there. I've been to the Philippines, in the southern Philippines, in Mindanao. That's where my wife's from, and I have preached in down there once. So I've preached in 5 states and 2 countries. So, having said that and having made my introduction, as I thought that was a good idea, didn't mean to rip it off, but I thought it was a good idea. I'd just like to say this. What I'm getting ready to say, I want to put my disclaimer out from the very beginning. I want to make it abundantly clear how I feel about some things. Because this is going to be against basically everybody out here. What I'm getting ready to say. It's going to be against the very low divine itself, in a sense. And when I say against, I mean that in the nicest way possible, or the most, I wouldn't say nicest way possible, because I don't really care about being nice. If it's what I've got to say, then I don't care about being nice. You try to keep anything as nice as you can, but when you got things to say, sometimes it don't exactly come out exactly nice if you've got a message to say. So, but let's just say I would like to make this as cordial as possible, as is possible. Like Don Parnell said the other day, he said, I was trying to get him to go to church down there at the Message Church, and I hate to use him for an example on all this, but it just fits so well. He said they're trying to get him to go down to the Message Church, and he said, yeah, you like the pastor and this and that, and he said I just can't go because he said I've got this understanding, and it's just going to cause problems just because of who I am. It's going to cause problems if I go down there because some of them people in them churches is going to believe it. Now he's going to get to talking, and it's just who he is. He just can't help it. He would go down there, and just him being there, he said, people know who I am. They know what I believe, and it's just going to cause problems. It's just going to cause problems for the pastor, and people's going to start to believe it, and this and that. And so I have to say that I can thoroughly relate to him because I got the same issue. I just got it in different terms. I got the same issue in terms of the love divine. And if you don't know who I am, you might eventually. But I've got the same problem. Is that I could potentially go into a low divine church, like he could go into a Message church, and just by being who he is, create problems. I can go into a Third Coming church or a Love Divine church, and I could create problems just because of who I am. Because people will probably, if they hang around me and understand what I'm saying, they'll probably start to pick it up. Somebody, maybe one or two here or there, would start to pick it up, and I would create problems, even amongst the love divine and the third coming, because my message is to those what Don Parnell's was to the message people, essentially. And so anyway, but I want to say this. I want to make this, I want to send out my disclaimer right off the bat. Don Parnell used to always say, he would say that, as I recall, William Branham, he would say that William Branham is my prophet. Well, I want to make this abundantly clear before I start this, that in those same termage, in the way that that was meant, Don Parnell is absolutely my prophet. Even if, however, he doesn't himself believe in anybody being a one-man ministry, which is going to be the theme of my message today, and the message title today is going to be the one-man ministry. So Don Parnell, even if Don Parnell himself does not believe in the concept, essentially now, of a person being a one-man ministry, I'm going to tell you that in the termage, in the same type termage that he called William Branham his prophet, I'm going to call Don Parnell my prophet. Okay. However, things are going to move from there. Because we know that Don Parnell himself was a prophet. And, of course, the love diviners, don't believe that themselves now. Because, and Don Parnell does not basically believe that himself now. His message, his last message, was to preach against that very concept. But I'm going to get into that. But anyway, I wanted to say that that's the way I feel about it. And secondly, this is another way I feel about it, because this is going to be, before I get done with this, I'm going to be saying the exact opposite of what Don Parnell said in his last sermon. But I want to make it clear that no man going to end up have said the things that I'm getting ready to say. Don Parnell is a friend of mine, and that's just the way it is. He's a good friend of mine, and so I want to make that clear. I also want to make it clear that here's the way I feel about it. If any man would ever bring me ill tidings of Don Parnell, then they should not expect to receive a reward from me. That's the way I feel about it. It was just like David and Saul. I consider Don Parnell to be the King Saul of this age. He's the first prophet, whether you believe in prophets or not now. He's the first prophet of this Aquarian age. And that makes him the King Saul type. And so anyway, I consider myself to be David by comparison. And in the same way that David would, see, they would always try to bring ill tidings of the things that had happened to King Saul to David, expecting a reward of David. And David never did reward them. He would never reward anybody for bringing him ill tidings of King Saul. So that's the way I feel about it. If anybody at the end of this thinks that they will bring me ill tidings of Don Parnell, then they will receive no reward from me. However, having said that, I must get into what I have to say. Now, we know that Don Parnell and the Third Coming, we know that that was the second ride of William Branham. And we know that William Branham said that there would come a white horse rider from the west, and he would have an odd message, but as long as it was the word, stick with it. Well, or something like that. So anyway, we know that Don Parnell certainly had an odd message compared to William Branham. Well, I would just say this. If you really do claim that you are a prophet out here, then you should truly, according to, see, Don Parnell had to come up with something. I don't say he come up with it in a way, but it come through him. That he had to do something that was very odd compared to William Branham to essentially fulfill the scripture of William Branham and to be what William Branham wanted to come forth in the earth. And that is exactly what you have to do today. You cannot bring forth the fulfillment of Don Parnell's revelation, in my opinion, if you do not do something or have something that is completely contrary to what he himself said. That's what William Branham said. He said that it'll be an odd message, but as long as it's the word, whatever, stick with it. Well, he was saying it would be odd even unto his own message, in a sense, although it was the fulfillment of his own message. And we know that the third coming and Don Parnell have been the fulfillment of the second ride of William Branham's message and the fulfillment of William Branham's revelation, but have been completely odd to William Branham's message himself. Because here we are, nobody's saying women need to put on dresses. And, let's say, I'm not going to say I'm there, because I'm in a different position, but let's say in terms of the third coming in Don Parnell, it's a strange message compared to William Branham's, because he didn't come and say anybody needed to wear, women needed to wear dresses, or people need to get rid of their TVs out of their house. So it certainly didn't come in the way that the message people would have ever thought that a second ride would have come. It came in an odd way, just exactly the way William Branham said. This third coming message and what Don Parnell has had to say has been completely odd compared to William Branham's message. Okay, so what I would like to preach to you today is the odd message compared to Don Parnell's message. I'm saying that given the fact that Don Parnell was the second ride of William Branham's message, then he would have naturally decreed that there would, and I believe he did, decree that at some point there would come a message that would be odd even unto his message. Speaking of Don Parnell now. So I concluded that, or I should say it come forth from me, might be a better example, a better way to put it, that if you do not have an odd message compared to Don Parnell's message, then you truly do not have a revelation of your own. You could have Don Parnell's revelation, and that's what many people out here have. And you could do a lot worse, but I wouldn't say that that really is the message at all. I would say that if you have Don Parnell's message and Don Parnell's revelation, I would say you have no revelation at all based on the real current events of things. I would say it's likened unto this. In the days of William Branham, you could have had William Branham's message, or you could have been a Pentecostal. And have been a Pentecostal in the days of William Branham, well, you could have certainly done worse. In fact, in terms of denominational thinking, I don't think you could have done any better than being a Pentecostal. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So I would say this, in terms of denominational thought process in the days of the third coming today, I don't believe you could do any better than the Love Divine or Don Parnell's revelation as it has come forth. I don't believe you could, in terms of denominationalism. And so am I saying that the Love Divine and Don Parnell are essentially denominational thinking? I'm saying that depends, that's a relative term. If you compare that to, say, the third coming thought process or the message thought process, I would say in a way no, because they're not denominational compared to that. But I would say, and that is why that I listen to them, because I can compare them to that. But I can tell you this, compared to what you're going to hear today from me, I would say absolutely yes, they are all denominational. That being the Love Divine and that revelation. I thoroughly believe that they have become denominational compared to what I'm going to tell you. So, anyhow, but like I said, it's got to be odd. I got to be telling you something that's odd, because the whole point, it's like this. See, what is the Love Divinic ideology now? The ideology is that everybody is a prophet, essentially. That was Don Parnell's last message. So that is anti-denominational, right? Well, no. You see, it's like this. What could be more anti-denominational than the concept of everybody being a prophet and that there are no more one-man ministries? That would be the most anti-denominational thing, one would think, right? Well, no. What I'm saying is that what I'm building to is I'm going to try to get you all, try to break you in slowly as to what I believe. What I'm saying is you've got to have a message that's so odd that it would be that the message of the love divine and the message of Don Parnell would itself be denominational thinking. You've got to have a message that's so odd that the concept of the anti-denominationalism of the idea of getting rid of one-man ministries has to itself be denominational. You have to be way out there, is what I'm saying. You got to be way out there to get to be an odd message unto that. Because the fact is that Don Parnell's message of, and the Love Divine's message of, the idea of everybody is a prophet, essentially, and that there are no more one-man ministries, that's a pretty odd message. Okay? So what I'm going to tell you today is you got to be doing pretty good. You got to get up pretty early in the morning to try to find a message that is more odd than that. And I would tell you this, I wouldn't say I went looking for it. And I would say that in the message that I'm getting ready to preach to you today, I am not telling you that I tried to put this together. I didn't look at all the things that William Branham did or whoever did and try to make myself that. But I just happened to notice that this is who and what I am. So, to get on with the message, consider this. Or I had to consider this. I listened to Don Parnell's message yesterday, and whenever it came to the getting rid of one-man ministries and everybody's a prophet, and I listened to that and I thought that's a good message, and it is. It's a fine message. It's a good message. It's a great message. But I got to thinking about it, and I thought, there's only one problem with that message. There's one big problem I got with that message. And the problem with that message happens to be myself. Because I know who I am, and I know what I am. And I didn't try to be any of the things that I'm getting ready to tell you. I'm just going to tell you that I am these things. I happen to be the epitome of why that Don Parnell's message and the Love Divine's message, which I said was a fine message, in fact isn't true. I am the epitome of the oddball compared to those oddballs. And here's how it works. They said that there are no more one-man ministries, that everybody is a prophet. Well, I just have one problem with that. Me. Because I just happen to be a one-man ministry and a prophet. And I don't mean a prophet like they're all prophets and, they all got the Love Divine message and they're all prophets. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm going to clear that up, straighten that up. I'm telling you that I in fact happen to be a one-man ministry. And I happen to be so oddball to this thing. There's only one way, in my opinion, that once I got to looking at it, once it was explained to me, that you can be an oddball to a message. Think about it. How can you be an oddball to a message that says that there are no one-man ministries? Light bulb, by being a one-man ministry. By being the thing that they say that you can't be. I'm going to tell you today that I am the epitome. My being, my existence, is the epitome of why, of the thing that they say cannot exist. And I'm going to tell you this, all throughout history, the message as a whole, or the messages as they went all throughout history, always got to a condition to where they said that there could not be a one-man ministry. And yet, the one-man ministry always came. And we say, oh well, this is the age of Aquarius. Everything's different now. No, everything's not different. What happened was that, you see, throughout history, throughout these messages, they're always the earth, the philosophies of things, always creates a condition that makes it sound so good that the one-man ministry cannot exist, that they make it to where it cannot exist. So I'm telling you today that what the love divine condition has gotten into is the same condition. The earth has went out of its way to make it to where it seems like that this could be so, that there could not be a one-man ministry. It has went out of its way to say, we're in the age of Aquarius now, and everything has changed. And so that is why the reason that there cannot exist a one-man ministry now. And it all sounds great. It all sounds like, well, that's just cut and dried done, isn't it? Well, you have to understand how things work. Like I said, the earth, the ages, the times, the thoughts, the thought processes of people, they always go out of their way to make it to where there cannot be a one-man ministry and to where everybody is a prophet. Okay, this is not the first time that this has happened, folks. Listen to what I'm getting ready to tell you. This whole concept of everybody being a prophet and there being no one-man ministry, that is the same condition that they always got into. This is not a new message at all. The love divine message is not a new message at all. In fact, it's the oldest message in the books. It's the opposite of what you think. See, I told you this has got to be odd compared to what you're listening to. The love divine message what it did was it created this. There's always a creation of the way people think and the ages and the way things work to get people into this mindset that they're all prophets and that there's no one-man ministry. It always goes that way. If you go back to ancient Israel, I'll give you ancient Israel, and I'm not going to give you no scriptures. I'm just going to tell you can read it for yourself. As Don Parnell always said, my prophet Don Parnell, as he always said, I'm not your reader. You got to read it for yourself. I'm not going to give you no scriptures, but I'm going to tell you the stories. Here's what happened in ancient Israel. In ancient Israel, whenever Judah and Israel split, Israel, which is your modern day love diviners, we all know this, it's been proven, it's been agreed upon, that the love divine side of things is Israel. Well, what happened whenever Israel split from Judah? Okay, what they did was that they made it to where essentially everybody could be a priest. That's what they did. That was one of the things that I think that Judah got mad at him over, was that, it used to be that only the Levites could be priests. And then when they went to Israel, well, it turned out basically anybody could be a priest. So what happened was, and that all sounded good, right? Wrong. See, what happened was they made it to where everybody was a priest. And that's what we've gotten to now. Israel split from Judah, okay? The love divine split from the third coming. The third coming is Judah. I'm going to name names. Bill Blades and Glenn Dial and John Vela and all these people that split, that kept the third coming ideology. That's Judah today. The king of Judah, I will tell you, in my opinion, is none other than Billy Blades of Kentucky. All right, I'm just going to tell you. Okay, I've said that for the longest time, but I'm saying it here. Okay, the king of Israel is Don Parnell. Okay, it's the king of these thought processes, the king of these ideologies, the king of third coming ideology, the king of love divine ideology. Okay, and so what happened was Israel made it to where they made it to where, well, anybody could be a priest. You read it in there in the books of the Kings. You get in there and you say, well, everybody could be a priest. That's what they did. They made it to where everybody could be a priest, and they made it to where you could worship here and worship there, and there's no one place, essentially, because Judah believed in Jerusalem, the one place, and they had believed that the Levites had to be priests, but Israel said, well, we ain't going to do that no more. We're going to break away. We're going to do our own thing, and then everybody can be a priest. Okay, well, that's exactly what love divinism is the concept of Israel made into modern form. The kingdom of Israel made into modern form is that everybody can be a priest. That's what it is. Okay, this is not hard, folks. This is not hard. You can't walk around this either. You go ahead and try, but you won't be able to get around what I'm getting ready to tell you. Okay, so then what happened was I'm going to give you another example. And you've got to understand that whenever you understand these things, they're written in code. These old things that come back up are written in code. Okay? You've got to understand what it's saying, what the code of it is saying. You've got to have, for old terms, a revelation on what's going on. Okay? What happened was Israel, there was a famous story that came up. The king of Judah and the king of Israel were together. And there was 400, as I recall, don't quote me on this, but there was 400 prophets of Baal, or I don't know how many prophets of Baal, or prophets to the king, probably prophets of Baal, but they were prophets to the king of Israel. Okay, so he had 400 prophets, or a bunch of prophets, the king of Israel did. Okay, what does this mean? What it means is that it don't mean that Don Parnell, king of Israel, has got 400 prophets of the love divine that all agree with him. That's not what it means. Although you could argue that that's true. That's also kind of a type. What it means is the 400 prophets of the king of Israel is representative of the concept that everybody's a prophet. Now, we don't have one anymore. We don't have one prophet that you go and listen to. We got 400. We got everybody's a prophet. It's just code for everybody's a prophet. You see, 400. It could have been 500, 600, 700. It don't matter. It's just we got 400. We got 400 prophets. We got. Sorry. Wifey, you got a napkin? Sorry, folks. I've been going through a tooth infection lately, and thank you, my wife. And I ain't been able to eat and stuff as good as normal. So anyway, but getting back to the story. Thank you, wifey. What it was he had 400 prophets. The king of Israel had 400 prophets, and that didn't mean. Now, what that meant was that there's 400, and what it means is that it's the concept of 400 is a bunch of prophets, and Israel made everybody a prophet. Didn't matter what tribe you're from or whatever, as far as I understand. But all the 400 prophets meant what it's code. 400 prophets is code for everybody's a prophet. So what it means is the king of Israel, Don Parnell, has this message, this concept message of the concept that everybody's a prophet. Or he has, in olden terms, it was written up as 400 prophets of the king of Israel, you see. Okay, so, and not to mention the fact that he's got a bunch of love divine people out here that could be representative of 400 prophets. Okay. But the rest of the story goes this way. Now that gets you up to where what Don Parnell's message was last week, because that was his message. You got to understand who he is, who everybody is. I'm putting them in their place of who they all are, and showing who they all are. And you got to understand what was Don Parnell's the king of Israel. He's the head of the love divine, which broke away from the third coming, Judah, which was the traditional concepts of the third coming. Okay, and so he's Israel. He's the king of Israel. Don Parnell's the king of Israel. And his message is that everybody's a prophet, which was exactly what Israel's message was everybody could be a prophet, didn't matter what tribe you came from. And, 400, I got 400 prophets. 400 prophets represents the concept simply that everybody's a prophet. So this is Don Parnell, king of Israel, and these prophets, his message of that he preached just last week of everybody's a prophet, essentially, is representative of the king of Israel and the 400 prophets that he had. It's exactly right down the line. Okay, well now let's tell the rest of the story. That's not the whole story of what happened. Okay, good. We've identified these people now. We've identified that the king of Israel is Don Parnell, and his concept and his 400 prophets is simply his message of everybody's a prophet. Okay, cut and dried. You can't get around that. Okay. Now look, that's fine. That's fine and dandy. He's doing just exactly what he's supposed to do. If he'd done anything different, I would have said he would have been wrong. He's right in what he's doing because that's what he's supposed to do. Look, folks, so anyway. Okay, here's the rest of the story. What happened was in that story was you had the king of Israel. So they were trying to figure out what they were going to do, whether they were going to go up and fight or this or that, or not. And as I recall, and so the king of Judah's there, the king of Israel's there, and the king of Israel calls up his 400 prophets, and they all say, "Yeah, go on up." You know, it's his idea. He calls up. What he does is he preaches the concept that there are no prophets, and everybody says, "Yeah, that's the idea that there are no more prophets." You know, because all Israel's behind him, right? You know, it's hard to really nail that down, but that's a pretty good summation of it. It was the fact that you had all these low divine prophets, and it's the fact that all their ideas are that everybody is a prophet. And then you've got King of Israel, Don Parnell at the helm. Okay? Then, so the King of Judah's there too. The third coming king. So you got the third coming and you got the low divine. And we're all here. Okay? All these people are here. And so anyway, Don Parnell preaches this idea that everybody's a prophet, and he calls up his 400 prophets. Okay, and then what happens? The story goes that the king of Judah asked him. He says, "Yeah, but do you have another prophet?" And he looks at, and the king of Israel looks at him and says, "Another prophet? I got 400. I got 400 prophets." But William Branham said, whenever William Branham preached this story, I can't remember where it's at, what sermon it's in. I told you, you go look it up yourself, but I just remember this stuff. William Branham said, he preached it this very way. He said, he was telling the same story, and he said that king of Israel got up there and he said, "I got 400 prophets," and the king of Judah, he said, "I'll call up my 400 prophets." They all said, "Go up." And then the king of Judah comes up to him and says, "Yeah, but do you have another prophet?" And the king of Israel looks at him and says, "Another prophet? What are you talking about? I got 400. Everybody's a prophet in the love divine. You know, it's the concept of everybody's a prophet. What are you talking about, king of Judah? What are you talking about, king of the third coming? You want another prophet? I have got the concept, my concept, as the king of Israel, as Don Parnell is that everybody is a prophet. What are you talking about, another prophet? You know, what are you talking about?" But William Branham said that the king of Judah was not fooled. He was not fooled by that. He said you couldn't fool that king of Judah because he knew better. He knew better than that. Because, see, once you understand the whole story of what happens here, you're going to find out that the low diviners, that the king of Israel and the low diviners and all that it sounded so good, didn't turn out to end very well for him. Although it sounded good, there's no better a sounding message out here than the concept of what Don Parnell's preaching that says everybody's a prophet. There was no better of a sounding of a message than what Israel had when they said, "Well, we don't have to be just Levites. Everybody can be a prophet or whatever. And we'll put up groves and whatever, and you can go worship here and there, and there is no one place to worship. It's just everywhere and everybody." And there was no better sounding message than that. That's why the Israelites believed it. And that's why it had to get to a condition to where they would believe it. It had to be something that was believable and sounded good. And that's exactly the way the love divine has got today. They have got into a condition to where their king is preaching this concept of everybody's a prophet. Everybody, don't matter who you are, everybody's a prophet. And that all sounds good, buddy. I'll tell you to this day, I'll tell you myself, it sounds good even to me. It's a good sounding message. But there's more to the story. So anyway, the king of Judah stands up and says, yeah, but have you got another prophet? And the king of Israel looks at him and says, another prophet? I got the concept. I got 400 prophets. I got the concept that everybody's a prophet. What are you talking about? And he said, yeah, but have you got another one? And so what that represents is the third coming, guys. See, there's one guy out here, and I call him the king of Judah. His name's Billy Blades down in Kentucky. There's one guy that he just won't go right along with it. He just never would go right along with the love divine at all. Boy, it all sounded awful good. The Israel splitting off sounded awful good. He just wouldn't go all along with it. He just never would go right all along with it. And so, and that's what William Branham said. He said, yeah, but you couldn't fool that king of Judah. He just wouldn't go right along with it. And so anyway, that's what you got today. That's what you got today. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with everything that the third coming believes, because they had their issues too. Judah had their issues too. And the prophet was not from Judah, in fact. So anyway, Judah was, their message whenever they broke off was, whenever Israel broke off, they were trying to figure out whether, well, when Solomon died, they said, well, are we going to just go with the king of Judah, the next king of Judah, Solomon's son, Rehoboam? And he said, well, okay, Rehoboam, how are you going to treat us? And he said, he came back, he thought about it a while, and he came back out and he said, my little finger is going to be thicker than my father's thigh. I'm going to put you to work. I'm going to put you to the works. And that is exactly why Israel split off. It's because when the third coming to this day, they still believe more in the works of things. Okay? They still believe in the traditions of things. Okay? So the traditional kingship of David, the Davidic lineage, and Israel split off from that. Okay? So anyway, that's exactly what you've got with the third coming today. The third coming still believe in the more traditional sense of things, for better or for worse. Okay? But that's what they believe in, and I'm just telling you that that's what they are. That's what you listen. If you got Bill Blades on Facebook, that's exactly what he's preaching. It's the type, just like Don Parnell is preaching this type of the king of Israel and everything that Israel believed, which is the love divine ideology. Bill Blades and these third coming guys are preaching everything that Judah believed. It's everything that they believed is what they preach. It's a type of it, without getting too detailed into it. But that's what they believe. They believe in the traditional sense. You only worship at Jerusalem. Only the Levites can be priests. You see what I mean? Okay. So anyway, that old king of Judah, old Billy Blades down there in Kentucky, you couldn't fool him. That's exactly what William Branham said. He said, but that king of Judah, you couldn't fool him. And that's exactly what they're doing. By not going wrong with the love divine, that's exactly what they're doing. You can't fool them. You can't fool that old king of Judah down there in Kentucky. You can't fool him. Okay, he's still asking, but do you have another prophet? Could there possibly be some other way than this concept that everybody's a prophet? Did you have another prophet other than your 400 prophets? He ain't quite fooled by that. The king of Judah, Billy Blades, ain't fooled by the concept of everybody's a prophet. Okay. So he's playing his part too. He's done exactly what he's supposed to do. Yet the love divine want to give the Bill Blades and the third coming guys, give them a hard time, because they're like, oh, they're old traditional and they didn't come along with us. Well, let me tell you something. Just like I said, Don Parnell and the love divine, you all ain't doing nothing wrong. You're doing exactly what you were supposed to do to play this position, to make this happen. The third coming people have done exactly to the T, exactly what they were supposed to do. And when Bill Blades said, you know what, I believe I'm going to go with this. Whenever Bill Blades and Glenn Dial and John Vela, whenever they all said, don't believe I'm going to go with this, That was the position they were supposed to play. They were supposed to do that to make this happen, to bring about all this, to fulfill the Scriptures, to fulfill we talk about the Scriptures being fulfilled already. That's true, they are. Okay, the love divine ideology is that the Scriptures have all been fulfilled. That's true, they are. But we're still fulfilling Scriptures. Now, y'all figured that one out, but that's how it is. Okay, so anyway, because nobody can tell me we ain't fulfilling Scriptures right now. We ain't still fulfilling Scriptures, because that's what everybody's doing. It's so obvious to me. Now, we did fulfill all the Scriptures. That was right. Christ came 63 and everything was fulfilled, and everything William Branham said, that's true, but that don't mean that we don't continue to fulfill Scriptures. Those Scriptures were fulfilled, but we're fulfilling Scriptures. You can't not fulfill Scriptures. I don't care what age you're in. I don't care how good it sounds. I don't care how Aquarian you can make it and say, well, this is the age of Aquarius. We ain't doing this and this and this. Forget it. That's meant to make you throw you off. That's meant to be there to throw you off, just like it was meant to throw Israel off, just like it's meant to throw the love divine off. So anyway, here's the rest of the story. So old Billy Blades, he gets up there and he says, but have you got another prophet? In through what his message is. And through what their message is, he said that. See, in through what Don Parnell's message is of everybody's a prophet, he is creating the condition of him being the king and having the 400 prophets and fulfilling Israel. And then Billy Blades is through the condition of what he believes, he is fulfilling. Whenever the king of Judah got up there and said, have you got another prophet? He's fulfilling that. He's fulfilling that. He's fulfilling all of Judah and creating the condition of Judah through his ideology. This is Aquarius. This is the mind age. We do these things. We don't do these things necessarily in the physical. We do it in the mental. It's the mind age, right? So we're creating Israel and Judah through conditions of the mind, through the preaching, okay, through your ideologies, okay. So old Billy gets up there and he says, yeah, but have you got another prophet? And then what happens? The king of Israel, Don Parnell, he says, yeah, I got another one, but he's a mess. I tell you, he don't agree with us. And Billy says, well, we better call him up because we want to make sure we're right in this, We want to make sure we're right in this battle we're going up to fight. Because what is it? The third coming and the love divine are going up to fight a battle. They want to know that they have, what was the point? Why did they call up the prophets anyhow? It was because you always called up the prophets before you went to fight. Okay, so what is it now? It's a mental battle. A mental, philosophical battle. That we want to know, Israel and Judah wanted to know that they were right in what they were doing. Okay. So Billy says, well, have you got another one? He says, and Don Parnell says, yeah, I got another one. But, man, in the Bible it said, but I hate him. And, of course, you got to understand that this is in Aquarian terms now. In Aquarian terms are a little bit more watered down. Let's just say, I hate him. Whenever he said, yeah, but I hate him, he's always prophesying evil against me. And that's what he said. He said, whenever Billy asked him, and whenever the king of Judah asked the king of Israel, he said, have you got another one? He said, yeah, I got another one, but man, he's always prophesying evil against me. And he said, but what does that mean? What is prophesying evil? Disagreeing, essentially. He disagreed with the king. And back in them days, it was a little bit harsher. But now, in terms, it's lighter. In Aquarius, everything's lighter. It's yeah, I got another one. I got this guy. He's a love diviner technically, because the king of Judah asked the king of Israel, "Do you have another prophet, another Israelite prophet?" Because this guy had to be an Israelite, so he was an Israelite. So he's technically a love diviner. He believed love divine ideology to some rough degree, And he said, "Yeah, I got another one here in Israel, but he just don't always agree with me, He just don't always agree." And so anyway, and Billy's like, the king of Judah's like, well, call him up. We better call him up and consulted him as to whether the way that we're going, as to the way that the love divine and third coming is moving forward is the right way. They're going to fight the battle to move forward in the message or whatever they believe. We better all figure out. We better make sure. We better call him up and make sure. And they said, okay, well, we'll call him up. And what happened? What happened? They go call that prophet up. That Israelite prophet. He was a low diviner. He thought like the low divine. Okay, his king was Don Parnell. His king was King Ahab of Israel. Okay, and I done told you my prophet's Don Parnell. My king is Don Parnell. Okay, I done told you that. Okay, so when they called this guy up, they called this prophet up. He's a guy who his king is not Bill Blades and the king of Judah. His king, or his prophet, essentially in those types of terms, would be Don Parnell. Okay, so this guy's got to be a Don Parnell guy essentially, but don't agree with Don Parnell all the time. And so anyway, they called this guy up and they said, all right, we're going up to tell him the situation. And he said, all right, we need to consult at your leading, because the prophet had to consult with the Lord or whatever, the Lord, and get the idea as to whether, what the king should do. And sure enough, he comes back, and what does he tell him? He tells him, as I recall the story, read it for yourself, but it's a rough testimony idea of the story. He comes back and he says, well, go on up. He said, go on up to this battle the way you're going. What he was saying is, what I'm saying, because I'm that prophet. Because I'm the Israelite prophet that they called up. Because I have disagreed with Don Parnell, but Don Parnell's my king. I'm a little bit low divine than I am third coming, you see. But I'm the prophet. I'm the prophet. I told you all, I said I'm the living proof that cannot be correct, because I am the one-man ministry. My message, my ideology on things proves that cannot be true. So anyway, they call this guy up. They call this one prophet up. And they talk to him and they say, well, we all want to go on up this way or whatever. And what does that prophet say? He says, go on up, but I see Israel scattered like sheep, having no shepherd. And the king of Israel looked at the king of Judah and he said, see, I told you he'd prophesy evil against me. I told you he wouldn't agree with us. And sure enough, what happened? They went on up to the battle. King of Israel gets killed. I think the king of Judah survived. King of Israel gets killed, as I recall. He gets killed in his chariot. And the prophet was exonerated. And what I'm telling you today is that you go on up, Israel. You go on up, love divine. You go on up to the battle, but I see you all scattered like sheep, having no shepherd. Your ideology is going to be, it's going to be destroyed. It's going to be, you're going to lose this battle. You've already done it. You've already lost in the thought process that you have. You are out of the will of God, essentially, in what you all have done in having this concept of making everybody a prophet. That was what they were supposed to do, but they were out of the will of God essentially in doing that, because the prophet had the word of God. The one prophet had the word of God, and the word of God of the one prophet is the concept of a one-man ministry in this age when nobody believes that there can be a one-man ministry, because everybody believes that everybody's a prophet. That's what you got to understand, how this works. It's working through us right now. It is us. Just like I said, Don Parnell, all that's working through him. Bill Blades, all that's working through him. Well, I'm telling you that I am the one-man ministry. My message itself is the concept of this one-man ministry that prophet that they called up, that one prophet, that one man that they said, there can't be a one-man ministry. But they called him up, and it turned out he was right. And it's the way it goes every time. Every single time throughout history, they've always got into a condition where they said there cannot be a one-man ministry. What did them Pentecostals say? They said when William Branham claimed he was, essentially was claiming he was Elijah, because that's what he was doing in so many words. And we know that he was in retrospect, because, he was exonerated in retrospect. And I will be exonerated in retrospect. You don't know it now, but I will be. All that I've been saying, all I've been disagreeing with, and they said, well, this guy, what is the deal with this West Cook? He just won't agree with us. It's all right. I'll be exonerated before too long if I ain't already. Okay, but by the time you hear this, some of you probably start to figure this out. So, because like I said, don't put me in a low, Don Parnell said, don't put me in a message church, because people know what I believe. They're going to naturally, they're just going to come out and I'm going to cause problems. Well, I'm going to tell you this, don't put me in a low divine church, because, and that don't mean that I won't go down there and see him, okay? But I'm telling you, don't put my thought process in the love divine thought process, because I'm going to bring people out. People are going to get it. People are going to come out under this one-man ministry concept, okay? It's a concept. Everything's a concept. It's Aquarius. It's a concept. So anyway, William Branham and Pentecostals, they said, no, we can't have no one-man ministry no more. William Branham couldn't possibly be Elijah come back the last time to fulfill whatever in this age, because we just don't believe he could be the prophet. We just don't believe in such a thing. And yet he was. He was Elijah the prophet who had come back. Okay? He proved it through who he was. And I'm telling you, I am the one-man ministry through what I tell you, through the concepts that I'm saying. I prove I am the existence of it. Whenever these Pentecostal love diviners out here say, no, there can't be no one-man ministry because everybody is a prophet. They say, no, it can't. There can't be just one guy that's got it. There can't be one guy and all of us be wrong. See what I mean? They couldn't believe that there could be that. But yet it always happens. It always happens. And we say, oh no, it's the age of Aquarius. Everything's changed now. And you can't, and it's all the way it's humanity and everything, and there can't be a one-man ministry because it's all humanity and everybody's a prophet now. And that is exactly the condition that you have to get into to create me. That is the exact condition that you have to get into to create a one-man ministry, is it always goes to a condition to where nobody believes it can happen, and then it happens to prove it wrong. It always happens that way. It never fails. It never fails. And it's not failed in this day either. The old king of Judah, he didn't go for it. See, he knew better. He said, well, wait just a minute here. That's why the third coming, and them third coming guys, like I tell you, I'm an Israelite. I don't agree with their traditional ideologies on things. But they weren't just going to go right along with Don Parnell now, were they? They weren't just going to go right along with the love divine ideology. Okay? So, they fulfilled their message. I got to looking at everything, and then, so I've given you the concept of how I am this. And then I got to looking at everything else. I've known this for a while, that I am the Elijah of this day. I've known, because I know me. I know who I am. Nobody has to tell me who I am. I don't have to answer to nobody. I don't have to question nobody. I just know who I am. Okay. I don't have to argue with nobody. I don't have to debate nobody. I know I'm Elijah. Okay. Because I got to looking at all the concepts of all the things that I believe. And from birth, it's not that I looked at Elijah, what he was, John the Baptist, and William Branham, and I looked at all the things that they stood for and did, this and that, and I said, well, no, I want to model myself after that. That's not how this works. What I did was I eventually understood, because it came to me, that I was doing what they did. Because, see, William Branham, you take some concepts of William Branham, okay? William Branham, what did he do? And you could just use John the Baptist, Elijah, whoever, they're all the same. William Branham, what was he? He was a wilderness man. He did not like the city. He wanted to be out there hunting all the time. He wanted to be out in the wilderness. Okay? 2, he didn't like these American women and what they were doing. 3, he didn't like TV in the house. Okay? He was essentially a fuddy-duddy. His message was a throwback message, a classic message to the day of the Pentecostals, because they had gotten way out there. And the idea of, because it was always the Pentecostals, and they're, everybody just, women wear pants and this and that, and that's just a type. I'm not saying women need to wear pants, because we're beyond that age, but that was a type. They're saying, well, yeah, it's okay to have a TV in your house, and yeah, this and that, and women can wear pants and this and that. And then William Branham, he's a fuddy-duddy compared to them. He was saying, no, don't have a TV in your house, and women don't cut your hair and wear dresses and this and that. Okay? So he was a fuddy-duddy. His whole concept was a fuddy-duddy compared to theirs. Well, what's more of a fuddy-duddy concept than the idea that there could be a one-man ministry to a bunch of folks out here who believe that everybody's a prophet? If you can get more fuddy-duddy than that, I'd like to hear it. Okay? So anyway, I got to looking at all the stuff. I have never liked American women. Never. As long as I have lived, it's just naturally been me. And I'm just going to tell you. I've just never thought highly of them. But it's not that they're not okay. It's just that I've got to play that position. William Branham, it wasn't that American women wasn't okay, but William Branham had to play the position of having that position of not liking them from the start, essentially. Okay? That's how it works. See, William Branham, they annoyed him, and they annoy me. I have been annoyed by American women as long as I have lived. I never wanted to have anything to do with them. I always just thought they was their shit didn't stink, and they was just no good. And I've always thought that from the very beginning. Never liked them. It's just how I am. You know, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's just how I am. So I am that William Branham type. I don't like smartphones. I don't like smartphones. I cannot wait to get rid of my smartphone. I'm in the process of trying to get me a piece of land down in the middle of nowhere. I just want to go down the middle of nowhere in the wilderness. I want to get away from everybody, and I want to throw my smartphone in the fire, take the battery out of it, of course, so it don't blow up. I want to throw my smartphone in the fire and be done with it. Okay, won't mean you won't see me. I might be on the computer or whatever, but to me, a smartphone today is the equivalent of a TV, what a TV was in William Branham's day. Now, who today is going to come up with the idea? Who didn't think of that? That, you know, smartphones are, you know, these cyborgs that they've made us. You can't go down the road, you can't do nothing, you ain't attached to a phone. Well, what did they do? The TV back in the day was come into your house. Your house is a peaceful place, right? And then the TV came in. Buddy, that was a mess. Now today, I wouldn't tell you to get rid of your TV, because today the TV is not what it was then. But a smartphone, a concept of something like a smartphone could very well be. I personally think that it is. Okay, so that's taking it takes your peace, just like a TV took the peacefulness of the home away. A smartphone takes your peace away. Okay, so it's like this. I'm not saying anybody needs to give up their smartphone. I'm not saying it's right or wrong in a sense. I'm just saying more what I'm saying. I mean, yes, I do believe that, but more what I'm saying is that I'm playing the position. It's a positioning. By the very idea that I would even have a position like that is the same type of position that the Elijahs always had, that William Branham always had. Okay, then here's another thing. William Branham, he was a wilderness man. He was a wilderness man. Okay. Elijah, wilderness man. John the Baptist, wilderness man. Okay. These are guys that come from the wilderness. This one-man ministry concept, this one prophet idea in the face of everybody's a prophet. Okay. But he's an Israelite. So all these guys, these Elijahs, these wilderness men, what do you have? I'm the same way. I cannot stand even Don Parnell. Don Parnell was an Elijah. You think he wasn't? What did he want to do? He wanted to go down to his farm in Ohio and just get away from things. He's a wilderness man. He's got the Elijah too. You think he ain't? He was Elijah for that day. Okay, you see what I mean? I'm the same way. We all got this Elijah thing going on, to where I don't like the city. I've lived in the city for 2 or 3 years here just because I had to. And I'm going to do my best. I'm supposed to have me a piece of land down in the middle of nowhere. Last house up in the holler in West Virginia. But you can't get no farther out than that. I'm telling you, you walk up a mountain from my piece of land, and you won't run into nothing but a damn graveyard for probably 10 miles. Okay? And then you won't run into nothing but a damn strip mine, and there won't be nothing there. Okay? So anyway, so what I'm telling you is that I fit the bill. I have all the things that make me this. I didn't try to be this way. I just am it. It's just who we are as Elijahs, who we are as one-man ministries. It's just, that's why I have this message. That's why I never totally agreed with Don Parnell. It's not supposed to be, because I know what position he's in. The one-man ministry guy is supposed to be in disagreement. He's supposed to be prophesying evil against the king of Israel, against Don Parnell, the modern king of Israel. And he's supposed to be doing all these things. I'm telling you, by default, I am these things. Okay? So anyway, I'll tell you some more. So he's a wilderness man. Okay? Well, where geographically did these Elijahs come from? All right. Elijah was from a place called, Elijah was called Elijah the Tishbite. Okay, this is your one-man ministry type guy. He was called Elijah the Tishbite. Why was he called the Tishbite? Because he was from a place called Tishbe, which happened to be in the area east in the mountainous region of Mount Gilead, which was east of the Ohio River. And it was a place called Tishbe. That's where he was from. That's where Elijah was from. He was from the wilderness. Okay. Well, what is today? We know that the Ohio River, William Branham was baptized in the Ohio River in 1933, and a voice came down and said, as you forerun, as John the Baptist forerun the first coming of Christ, your message or whatever shall forerun the second coming of Christ. Okay. He was in the Ohio River. John the Baptist was baptizing in the Jordan River in Israel, ancient Israel. Bump it up to today. William Branham was baptized in the Ohio River whenever he got his commission to be the Elijah. Okay, well, what's the Ohio River now? The Ohio River is the Jordan River now. The Ohio River runs, for those of you who don't know, it runs right in between West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky, and Indiana. Okay, so if you go due east of that Ohio River, that modern-day Jordan River, you go into West Virginia. And what do you find there? Mountainous region. Mount Gilead. That's exactly where Elijah was from. I have come from the same place. I have come from the wilderness to tell you this. I am the wilderness man from the wilderness of West Virginia who don't like being in no city. I hate going through red lights in the city. My wife will tell you, I hate red lights. Just red lights drive me crazy. I can't stand this city stuff. I can't stand this modern stuff. I can't stand it. It drives me nuts. Why does it drive me nuts? It's because of who I am. It's because I am the Elijah. William Branham, he said, what did he say? He said, I don't know. He said, I can't stay here much longer. My body wasn't built for this. He said, my body wasn't built for it. He said, I know what's coming in this age to come, and my body wasn't built for it. I got to get out of here. And I'm going to tell y'all something. That's about the way I feel about it. In a sense, I'm not saying I'm going to die in the next 5 years or year or a month or 2 weeks or a week or whatever. I'm not saying that. Because there's more ways. We found out that there are more ways that you can die. Because you can have a death here. It's like Don Parnell was talking about in the last sermon. He said you can have a death without dying, essentially. What is a death? A death is it's not just a natural death. It's a revelation. So I might have a revelation, and this revelation will bring me out of modern society. Okay, that's the same type of thing what I'm talking about here. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'm already dead. I'm already dead to modern society because William Branham, his body wasn't built for it, and mine ain't built for it neither. And I have died to modern society. I turned on the TV, and what are they talking about? All this modern stuff and modern ideologies. I can't watch it. I got to turn it off. What did I do today? Well, I get up. Me and the wife get up and we fix breakfast. And what do? I turn on the TV and there's Fess Parker and old Daniel Boone from the 1960s on TV. And what I sit here for an hour and I watch Daniel Boone. I watch an old 1960s TV show. I can't do this modern stuff. I've already died. I'm already dead. You don't even know I'm already dead. Okay? I couldn't survive in this. I said, I got to go. I know what's coming and I can't do this. Folks, I got to go back in the woods and I got to be away. And I got to go back there and I got to watch Fess Parker and Daniel Boone and I got to watch Andy Griffith and I can't do it. I can't do it. I might watch Friends or something. I might bump it up to 1990s or something. I might watch I don't know what, but I might even watch something from the 2000s, but I can't. What's going on here in the message I'm trying to tell you all? I can't deal with this stuff. It's not. I'm in that position to where I'm that prophet, and I see the modern way of things is going, both in the message and in the physical world, the whole thing, and I just can't do it no more. My body wasn't built for that. I'm supposed to be the Elijah, to be this wilderness man, both in terms of the message and in the physical. I'm the wilderness man. I live in the wilderness. I just come out and I say something every once in a while, and it's just the way it is. And I come out and I disagree with the king of Israel, and I prophesy evil against the king of Israel, and I say that the concept of all these prophets, everybody being a prophet, is essentially outside of the modern will of the Lord type of thing, whatever, how you want to say it. Essentially being out of the will of the Lord now would be to say it's not right. I'm not saying that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, because they are, but I'm saying that I'm the one-man ministry that proves what they're saying is incorrect. I'm saying that ideology will lead to a concept of Israel being scattered like sheep and having no shepherd. Now, I'm not saying that Don Parnell's going to go die or whatever, physically die, but we're not talking about that. But I am saying this. I am saying that in termage, there would have to be a death. The king of Israel is going to have to die. Now, does that mean he'll get a new revelation? Well, and then there won't be the love divine. Will be he'll get a new revelation that the love divine will be scattered, and he'll be death in terms of a new revelation. That's probably more likely what will happen. So, or perhaps already has happened in some regards, and I kind of think I could see that just a little already. But anyway, so that's one thing. I'm not saying that these things haven't already happened in a sense, but I can tell you this. But in a sense they haven't, because we still got this concept of everybody's a prophet, and there's going to the king that preaches that is going to have to go through some sort of a death according to the story, and it'll be a revelation death or something. I don't know just exactly what, but it will be a death somehow. And it's like this. I remember Don Parnell used to say, he'd say, well, now, if William Branham were here today, whenever we was preaching the third coming, he said, William Branham would be right here preaching it with us. Well, I will tell you this. If the world moves on from this love Davidic age and this third coming age to what I'm saying, to bumps it on up, then, in my opinion, we will have moved up in age. And I'm already there, but we will have moved up in age, and we will get to test the concept, I think, as to whether the last age prophet, in a sense, will be preaching the same things that we are preaching. We'll get to test that one way or another. So, in a sense, I think that perhaps will happen. But anyway, I just say this. Like I said, I mean, what am I doing here? I can't deal with this age, but that's what it's supposed to be. William Branham knew he wasn't built for that age, and I ain't built for this type of stuff. But he was built to do what he had to do in that age. And that was to be the one-man ministry. See, it's a fulfillment. It's an existence of who you are that you fulfill that. So anyway, here I am. I get up this morning. I'm watching Daniel Boone. Okay, I'm watching old 1960s Daniel Boone on TV. All right, and I live in the wilderness. I do all these things. My message itself is the concept of one-man ministry. I have thoroughly proved. Nobody can deny what I have said in this message. I've thoroughly proved that I, through this position that I'm playing, have been the one-man ministry concept whenever they said that it could not happen. Okay, I have proved, I have done it. It's like this. The guy's got to come from the wilderness. And I'll tell you this, if there's anybody out here in West Virginia, east of the Ohio River into Mount Gilead, if there's anybody out here that's fulfilling this other than me, I will gladly say, yes, sir, there's your prophet. But until he comes, I'm all there is. So I must assume it must be me. I don't assume, I know it's me. I know it's what I've been saying. It's my concept, my being. Okay? So all I can say is this. It's like this. I'll leave you with this thought. I was watching Daniel Boone, and I was watching him wearing coonskin hats. And I'll just say this. I live in the wilderness. I'm the wilderness man, both in terms of message. I've been the wilderness man of the third coming. I have enacted that. I have played that part. And I'm the wilderness man in terms of I just love to be out in the woods and I can't stand the city. And if you don't believe me, I just ask what I got to do to get you to believe me. Because to me, it's just blatantly obvious. I'm telling you it's blatantly obvious. I ain't going to hem-haw around about it and say, well, even if it ain't me, it sure looks an awful lot like. No, I'm just going to tell you I'm it. Ain't nobody else out here that I know of in West Virginia that's doing this. Ain't nobody else out here. I'm it, and I don't know what I got to do to get you all to believe it. I don't know what I got to do to get you all to believe that the one-man ministry does still exist. I have proved that it exists. I have proved that it exists through all of us, all the conditions set up to make me happen. The love divine condition, the third coming condition, set up to make me happen. Here I am in the exact spot I was supposed to be in, both in the physical on the eastern side of the Ohio River in the Mount Gilead in West Virginia, and both in the condition of an Israelite, a Gileadite, in terms of thought process that has consistently prophesied evil against King Don Parnell of Israel, in that I have disagreed with him for so long in certain terms of things. Okay, I have proved all this. I have proved it thoroughly. Okay, I don't know what's left. Look, here I am growing a beard. I ain't been able to shave. I'm starting to look like a mountain man, right? Okay, what I got to do? Let me just ask you this one last thing before I go. What I got to do to prove it to you? Do I need to get me a coonskin hat and wear it? Is that what I need to do? The next time that I roll into Don Parnell's church or whatever, or somebody's church, if I'm in the Philippines and I roll into one of these Love Divine churches, to see everybody, do I need to wear a coonskin hat in there to prove who I am? What do I need to do? Do I need to walk in there with a musket and a deer gut knife and I don't know what else, and a bag full of gunpowder and a flintlock rifle? What else I got to do? Okay, I don't know what else. I'll tell you what. The next time y'all see me, I'll wear a coonskin hat in the church. I'll come in there wearing a coonskin hat and a big brown tassel, whatever you call it, mountaineer suit. I don't know what else to do. So anyway, what else to do to prove it? But just consider this. I explained very clearly how that the existence of this personage and these personages create this thing. There should be no doubt. There is no refuting this. And I would tell you this. There's no refuting this. It cannot be refuted. It absolutely cannot be refuted. This is just obvious. I have made it as obvious as I can. If anybody denies it now, well, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you're just playing your part. But I will say this because I don't want a bunch of Love Divine people to listen to me. That's not what I want. I want maybe one or two that will hear it and be like, Shazam, and be like, well, I'll be damned. You listen to that. That's all I want. I did not come to save all Israel. I came for the lost sheep. Now, how's that go? I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I didn't come for everybody. I just came for a few. And this is my message. I have come for a few. I have come to tell you that I am the one-man ministry. I have come to tell you that I am He. They say, well, when the Messiah comes, He will do this and this. I have come to tell you I am He. I am He that talketh with thee at the well. I am He. And I just want those few that are going to believe me. Because I know these Pharisees and Sadducees out here, they're not going to believe me. Okay, I know the Love Divine and the third coming, they're not going to believe me. Okay, as a whole. As a whole, they're not going to believe me. But I make them think. I'll make them think a little bit about what they're thinking about. And I just want these few. I just want my disciples and my few, and it might get up to where I've got to create fish and loaves and stuff to feed them all. It might get that far, and then probably some of them will leave me and never follow me again or whatever. So that's all I want. I didn't come to So anyway, I'm just looking for those one or two people out here that's going to listen to this and say, well, I'll be this guy. Hey, you know what? That's pretty convincing about the concept of one-man ministry. That it couldn't happen, but that's why it couldn't happen. I tell you, I'll leave you on this note. I know I said I'll leave you early, but I'll leave you on this note. There was a raid. There was a raid one time in World War II. It was called the Raid of Saint Nazaire. and that is a place in France where the where it was the biggest. See, the Germans took over France, and they were on the Atlantic coast of France. They were using this big French dockyard and repair center to house their U-boats and their battleships and whatever. And there was this one dock that could repair. It was big enough. Only one dock out there that could repair a German battleship. And the British knew that they had to knock it out. They had to try to knock it out, because if the Germans ever got their battleship out there, they was going to wreak havoc on everything. So anyway, what the British did was they done one of the greatest raids of all time. They got this boat and they loaded it up in a bunch of little boats, and they loaded it up with explosives. And they had to drive in there into that dock under a hail of bullet fire and everything else. They had to run that boat in there, and they had to run it right up on the dock and then set the charge and blow the dock up so that the Germans wouldn't be able to get their battleship out there and wreak havoc on everything. And they were able to do it. It was called the Raid of Saint Nazaire. And the Germans, nobody ever thought that anybody would even try it. It was so well defended. And the British guys, they said that the reason that they were able to do it was because nobody thought they could do it. Everybody thought it was impossible. Nobody thought anybody would even try it. And they said that's why they were successful, was that nobody thought that they could do it. And that's what I'm telling you. The very reason that there can be a one-man ministry is because nobody believes that there can be one. That's the whole reason that this is successful. That's the whole reason that my message is a possibility. It's a possibility that this raid can work, because nobody believes it can work. Nobody believes in this day that there could be a one-man ministry. Nobody believes in this day that there could be, another message, essentially. Nobody believes that. And that's the very reason it is real. That's the very reason that all these prophets throughout time existed, was because everybody came along and said they couldn't. And that is exactly why they did. Because they said it's impossible. And the impossibility of it was what made it possible. That's what them British guys said. They said the impossibility of the mission was what made it possible, because nobody believed they could do it. Nobody believed anybody would even try. Whenever the British got there and run their boat up on the thing, before it blew up, the Germans didn't know what was going on. They didn't know that it was loaded with explosives. And they captured some of the British soldiers. And the Germans, because the Germans are war guys, their history is war. They're the great Prussian generals and Prussians. Their history was warriors. And they said that the British guys, whenever they captured them, they said that the Germans were patting them on the back, saying, we're amazed that you guys had the guts to try this. And that was before the ship blew up. And then when the ship blew up, of course, they probably weren't very happy with them, because they destroyed their dock. But they were amazed that they had just even tried it. The enemy was patting them on the back, saying, we can't believe you guys had the guts to do this, man. We are the warlike people, the real warriors here. The warrior history of the Prussians. And here you bunch of British people come in here, and you all have tried this, and we can't believe it. We're just amazed. We got to pat you on the back. We're amazed. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Nobody believes that this raid that I have launched today against this dock, nobody, who would believe it? Who would believe that anybody would dare, in the midst of all this, whenever it's gotten to a condition to where everybody's a prophet and nobody believes that there could be a one-man prophet, a one-man ministry of sorts? Who could believe it? Who would even believe you would even try something like this? Who would even come out and say, in this age, in Aquarius, whenever everybody's supposed to be all humanity and everything, it's all humanity and everything's, and this, everybody's a prophet and all this, and everybody's God and this and that and everything. Who would believe that one guy, anybody, would ever preach a message in this day saying that there could be a one-man ministry? That would be insane. And yet here I am. Here I am.